What's up, guys? Welcome back to Drew's Garage. Today, on a little field trip. A little short video today, but what I wanted to do is share something that can really help out young fabricators or people working with a budget, or if you just started a project and it's not a consignment project, it's something that you're building that you don't have a buyer for yet, so you want to cut down on the price. And a great way to do that, especially for people on a budget, is to come to a place like this. This is Picton Iron and Metals, and they do a little bit of everything here. They will pay you for scrap metal. They will pay you for scrap cars. You can come here and buy metal. You can come here and buy scrap cars. You can buy car parts. And it's one of the best priced yards I've ever seen in my entire life. So I've come here many a time before for certain things. Front fenders for my workhorse F-150 that I have. Even a reproduction F-150 fender was, I think, like $250 or $300. I got them here, two mint condition ones. They're the wrong color, but I'll just repaint them. And I think they were $25 each. One of the things that I wanted to come here today and take a peek at was, my truck's got, it's a workhorse. It's my baby, but it's 20 years old. Everybody loves an old truck, but you got to take care of an old truck. So the thing that I needed was a passenger front door and a passenger rear door. There's just a little bit of rust on mine at the bottom. And to be honest, it's less work to just come to a place like this and get two new ones, and they're $50 each. You can't beat that. So, for example, I'm going to show you guys here. All right, so you can see my F-150 over there. It's black Ford F-150. A little bit of rust at the bottom inside of the door panels. And look what I found here. Same model year, the 2004 through 2008. And with the exception of this tiny little ding right there that you probably can't even see, these two doors are mint. And these are $50 each. So for $100, I can get what just the door handle would cost if I went to Ford. The other nice thing about this truck, my truck has a sunroof. This truck has the sunroof. And on my truck, although this one's a little sticky, on my truck, a malfunctioning garage door in a residential building came down and hit my sunroof. So my sunroof has some trouble closing. So it's a pain in the butt to be able to replace the sunroof and do all that. This one's already got it. I bet you the mechanisms and everything and the glass and everything I need, probably another $25. So you can see what I mean about coming here and saving. Like these doors, they're directly bolt on, bolt off. Obviously the mirrors will have to be adjusted, and the inner door cards of this one are going to be different than on my one. But that's not the end of the world. Changing the door cards is easy enough. If I had to go in and change the mechanisms inside, it's a bit more of a pain, but they're already here. It's literally change the door card, unbolt it, and bolt it back onto the truck. Another thing that's great to get here is, especially if you're starting off as a fabricator, or like I was saying, if you're building a project that hasn't been commissioned. In other words, somebody hasn't come to you and said, here's money, build me this. So you have to put the money out ahead of time. One of the best things you can do is come here, because there's so much scrap metal that gets dropped off here at the end of building projects. So if you see behind me here, all of this is actually really, really good aluminum. Look at how lightweight it is. If you were to go, for example, if you needed 30 feet of aluminum angle, if you went to a metal fabricator, it's going to cost you, or a metal depot, it's going to cost you probably, I don't know, 5 times as much as they're going to charge you here. Now, this metal here happens to be painted, so a bit of a bummer in the sense that you'd have to clean it, but because it's aluminum, even if it's been sitting here for 2 years, it's not rusting. So you're going to save huge. And as you can see, like, that pile is massive. And with the exception of some of them are dinged and dented from being dropped here, but the majority of it is arrow straight. Like you can see right here, look at how straight that piece is, right? So if you needed, and there's some steel back in the back there, but if you needed 50 to 100 feet of aluminum angle, you would pay next to nothing from here, and they charge you based on the weight when you leave. So this aluminum weighs nothing. I bet you retail cost, say $300 of aluminum. If you were going to go to a metal supplier, I bet you it would be $30-40 here. And as you can see, it's not even all painted. Look in the background there, you can see like all those extrusions there, they're unpainted. So you don't even have to go through the hassle of trying to sand everything off in order to try to be able to use it and weld on top of it again. And it's just a really great way that you can save money, and not only allows you to charge the customer a little bit less if you want to do that, or you can keep the customer's billing the exact same and essentially just increase your profit margin. Now, there are some downsides, of course. If you're working with steel, for example, I'll show you guys over here. There's some steel racks behind me. Steel obviously rusts, so these racks behind me here, you can see these are all steel racks, and they're a little rusted. They're dead straight. I mean, if you were building a rack system or something in your shop or your garage, they're great for that. But obviously it takes a little bit more to clean these up. You also have to be aware that a lot of times the metal that gets dropped here, I've seen huge piles of galvanized metal. And if you're new to fabricating, when it comes to welding galvanized metal, the downside is the welding process creates toxic fumes. So obviously we don't want to have that. So you just got to pick and choose a little bit, but it's literally one of the best ways you can come and save money on your projects, save money on repairing your vehicle. If you're like me and you're sort of addicted to your old F-150, for example, I love my F-150. I bought it 5 years ago now for like $4,000. It's been fantastic. Little repairs here and there, but for a 20-year-old truck, it's had less problems than some of my friends who have brand new vehicles. And when I need to be able to repair it, I come here and I get brand new pieces. If I called Ford and asked them, hey, what do you guys want to charge me for a 2004 to 2008 F-150 front door? I bet you it's $2,500. I'm going to get this door, and the sunroof motor and tracking and everything. And I bet you I'm going to get it all for $125. Can't go wrong. So one thing you do have to be careful about when you're driving around a scrapyard is just be careful where your tires are going. There's a lot of scrap metal here, and if you drift off the beaten path, it's very, very, very easy to find a hunk of metal jammed in your tire, which will ruin an otherwise great day here at the junkyard. Isn't that right, babe dog? So like I was saying, when it comes to excess metal that may be left here, this is an example of all the galvanized metal that does frequently get dropped at sites like this. I mean, there's a ton of wheels and stuff like that if you're looking to make a fire pit or something along those lines. But there is a ton of scrap steel. Obviously, like I was saying, steel, you have to clean it up a little bit. But as far as scooping up deals on aluminum, or if you needed a piece of steel I-beam, you know, and you didn't want to go buy it for 300 and change, you know, piece of I-beam here if you're putting a, you know, a gantry crane in your shop or anything like that. As you can see, obviously there's a ton of stuff here. It's a junkyard. There's the trusty F-150. my pride and joy. She's an old girl, but she's a goodie. And of course, we have my companion there. Big dog. Apparently he's a little camera shy. All right, let's keep going. What happened to that school bus? That's emergency exit. Kids out the side. Let's see what we got over here. Between last season and this season, they've cleared out a lot of previous vehicles that, to be honest, were mostly just in the way, because sometimes these vehicles are like 10, 15 deep, and you see something that matches yours and you can't get to it. For example, these trucks weren't really accessible last year. I'll go over and check them out. I don't think that they'll be better than the excavator if you wanted. Ones, no F-150s over here. That's going to match what I'm looking for. That's okay. They have been picked clean by the looks of things. Remember I was saying about your tires. As you can see, gotta be real careful, especially in some of these spots where they've just been cleared out, like over here. A lot of scrap gets dragged through this section. So what I tend to do is find a spot and I'll park and walk over. Maybe we'll try here. So I do see an F-150 over here. This one looks a lot worse for wear. Well, that's an understatement. So it looks like something came through the roof of it. Yeah, so not so many good parts that are going to come off of this one. That is pretty beat. Ironically enough, there's some taillights in there. And the plastic housing that you can see right there on one of my taillights is actually broken. Yeah, not a lot going on this one. Let's see if we can find anything float over here. This, last year where it's all open, this just used to be cars everywhere. You couldn't even get in here. Bad little trailer frame here. Not sure what it's for. Here's some other things too. You see, like, there are old car relics floating around in here. Like, this is an old Meteor, and if you needed to get parts for this, like if you needed the windshield, for example, you'd either have to buy a reproduction, or if you needed like this bumper here really straight for what is probably a I don't know, 60, 70-year-old car. Like a trunk lid that's got a tiny dent, but is basically perfect. The back glass is perfect. The trim is there. Again, you'd have to have this car for it, but it's a perfect example of, you know, if you're trying to put a car together, if you had to buy this trim, even if it's available reproduction, which I don't even know if it would be for a Meteor, you know, you can get it all here and they'll charge you next to nothing. Like, look at the cool dash on that thing. Wild to see some of these old cars. You do have to be careful because hornets and bees and other things that tend to hate to be disturbed are aplenty in yards like this, and they're generally in door jams and things, and you find out once you open it, so you do have to be aware of that. Here's one of the lifeboats from the Titanic, apparently, which were at one point either 3 or 6 cylinder powered by the looks of this. That is a 3-cylinder engine. Obviously it's not from the Titanic, although it looks like it. Ironically enough, you do find a lot of this. A lot of old motorcycles sitting here. But if you're doing any sort of custom bike projects, I happen to be doing an ice cream cart project for a customer that requires a really heavy neck, like a neck that'll be able to take a lot of pivoting. It's kind of like an ice cream cart, Dickie D cart kind of thing. And they're weirdly expensive if you want to buy them new with the bearings and everything else. And here you could just find this, zip a cut across it, and just take what you need. The one that I looked at prefab was, I think, like 200 and change. I bet you cutting that thing off, it's a $5 item at a place like this. All right, so another one of today's finds, especially for a fabricator, I found this giant argon CO2. I don't know if you can see it there. There we go. Camera's not really being super cooperative because it's tracking me, but a bottle like this, if we bend down you can see it, there we go. Bottle like this, just the bottle itself is $400 if you want to buy one. And then you generally work with the exchange program. So you basically roll up with your empty bottle, you pay for the refill, and you give them your old bottle. But if you're on one of the rental programs, it's, you know, a few $100 a year, plus the initial deposit on stuff like this. It's probably, the rental cost of this is probably $500. This bottle itself, you could buy it here. Right now, I just checked it, the whole bottle, there's no leaks. There's actually still gas in it, which probably means it shouldn't be here. But it appears to have had argon in it, which hopefully the label's correct, but obviously a non-reactive gas. But for a new fabricator, when you're looking at picking up a tank for your TIG welding, even when it's the small tanks, you know, one of the 3-foot tanks is a few $100, and then it's usually 100 and change to fill it on the exchange program. Big tanks like these, harder to come by, but big tank saves you going multiple times to the yard to get it swapped out, especially if it's 30, 40 minutes away, depending on where you live. But a place like this, somebody probably had this in a garage. They didn't need it anymore. They bought a house and it came with it, and they just brought it here, plunked it here. It's good. It's solid. Like I said, it still has gas in it. And you can pick this up for next to nothing. And now you've saved $500 a year. This tank itself, say it lasts you 10 years, right? If you're paying $500 in tank rental and delivery fees and swaps and everything, $500 a year for 10 years, that's $5,000. This $25 tank here, it's $25, and you don't have to pay rental fees, or you pay $10,000 in rental fees over the next, or $5,000 in rental fees over the next 10 years. So another great way to save here at the scrapyard. I don't know why, but these junkyards bring me so much joy. What do you think? He's just happy to hang out, to be honest. Hey, what do you think? Do you like going to the scrapyard with Daddy? Doesn't talk much. Some other really cool finds here. Really old trucks. I mean, this one's obviously well beyond repair. But I mean, if you had an old truck like this, you know, the windshield is probably original and still good. The seals aren't. But just really cool to see some of these old vehicles still kicking around. You can see some of the old door signs, door logos over the years. Imagine how much work went in on this truck for generations, probably. Got another one over here. Just some really cool old memorabilia. Being a truck fan myself, whenever I see old trucks like this, I always just wonder, like, all the cool things that this truck did. Again, like, look at that windshield. Split window in perfect condition. Somebody stole the cylinder head. But just, you know, really cool old style vehicles. Very uncool vehicles. See if I can get across this little river we've got going here. See if I can find anything cool. Never know. As you can imagine, that was the sound of the hood denting in. And we are sort of back in no man's land here now. A lot of this stuff hasn't been touched in a long time. Yeah, no F-150s of the model I'm looking for. That looks like it used to be a food truck and has seen better days. It's now being used as a roadblock at that gate. Here's some other things, like if you build custom trailers like I do, sometimes, you know, I keep my eyes out just for trailer boxes and things along those lines. As you can see here, hopefully I don't get attacked by a family of raccoons or something. But through here, this one's obviously dented. Not in wildly good shape, these ones, but you do sometimes find the trailer boxes where basically the vehicle itself has been hit, but the box hasn't. And you can get yourself kind of a steal and stuff like that. Jesus Christ. That is about as homemade of a roll cage as you can get. It doesn't look like it worked particularly well either. Here we go. Well, let's hope we don't fall here. Success. I'm going to show you guys one last find before we get out of here. So one of the other things that my old truck needs is bumpers, and there's very specific bumpers depending on which F-150 you have, and some look a lot cooler than others. So for example, this bumper here, which the camera is not going to cooperate with, of course. There we go. It's having a bit of a meltdown. There. So this bumper here, you can see the fog lights on it are rectangular, and that's the same one as mine. Mine's painted black, but a lot of them just have the circular fog light in here, which looks super cheesy. So this is a very specific one, and I had an ex-girlfriend that remodeled my front bumper using a 5,000 pound concrete roadblock that I did warn her was in her way and told her to brake multiple times. She didn't, and then told me, I didn't stop because I thought you were joking. No. Needless to say, my bumper is a little worse for wear as a result. Now, this one's chrome, so I'd have to, sand it down and repaint it. But again, this bumper, brand new from Ford, $2,000. If you come here, they're $50. And you can see my rear bumper has, this one again is chrome. Doesn't look too bad. No, it's actually perfect. Not that you guys can see because my camera work wasn't great there. But this bumper here may have been pushed in a tiny bit, but my one that's on my truck right now is really, really rusty. So I kind of like that bumper. It's actually doesn't seem too crooked whatsoever. So those things are prime examples of something that instead of ordering the Amazon knockoff version of it, or, heaven forbid you go to the dealership and you try to get a bumper, it's going to be, if you got a $5,000 truck, they're going to sell you a $3,000 bumper for it. So perfect example when you come to a place like Picton Iron and Metals. Hi, buddy. When you come to a place like Picton Iron and Metals, I'm looking for 2 doors. That's $100. The sunroof, because mine sticks at a certain point thanks to that garage door incident, and those bumpers. So the sunroof was like $25. The doors are $50 each, so $125, and those bumpers are $50 each. So for $225 by coming to a scrapyard, and that's just for this project. That's not even including, if you needed aluminum, like I showed you guys earlier, where there's, hundreds and hundreds of feet of perfectly good aluminum over there that you can get for the weight of steel. They don't charge you the weight of aluminum here. They charge you the weight of steel. And, you could save thousands on that, to get 2 doors, 2 bumpers, and a sunroof for $225, $250. It's a great way to save money, especially if right now you have a regular day job and you're fabricating on the side, and you might not have a ton of money to put into it, but you want to be able to put out good stuff and keep either your costs low for your customer, or, like I said, improve your profit margins by being able to source the materials at cheap. Stop licking the seats. Jesus Christ. Dog's licking the seats. Anyways, if you have a project like that, if you can keep your overall cost down, then your profit margin increases. So these are just little tips and tricks. I hope you guys stop licking the seat, man. Jesus. You cannot get a dog that doesn't lick your seats at the junkyard. You can get everything else, but you can't get the dog that doesn't lick your seats. Places like this, they can just save you so much when you first become a fabricator, when you're starting your business on the side, helping your profit margins out. It's just a little tip, trick that you can keep your costs low, and you never know what you're going to find. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys found this video useful. That's what all my videos I want to do for everybody. I want them to be able to be something that either entertains you a little bit, or saves you money, or teaches you a trick. I hope this video did one of those 3, if not all of them, for you guys. Like, subscribe, feel free to leave a comment or a question. Again, this yard is called Picton Iron and Metals. It is in Picton, Ontario. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, because I do answer all of the questions that people leave me. That's it for me. See you guys in the next episode.